An assault rifle is a selective fire rifle that uses an intermediate cartridge and a detachable magazine. Assault rifles are currently the standard service rifles in most modern armies. Examples of assault rifles include the STG-44, AK-47 and the M16 rifle. The Germans were the first to pioneer the assault rifle concept, during World War II, based upon research that showed that most firefights happen within 400 meters and that contemporary rifles were overpowered for most small arms combat. They sought to develop a select-fire intermediate-powered rifle combining the firepower of a submachine gun with the accuracy and range of a rifle. This was done by shortening the standard 7.92x57mm cartridge to 7.92x33mm and giving it a lighter 125-grain bullet, that limited range but allowed for more controllable automatic fire. The result was the STG-44, which the Germans produced in large numbers. Approximately 500,000 were made. Unlike previous rifle designs, it introduced an over-the-barrel gas system, straight stock and pistol grip to reduce recoil and improve handling characteristics. The principle of this weapon was probably the most important advance in small arms since the invention of smokeless powder. Definition: the term assault rifle is a non-direct translation of the German word Sturmgewehr. The name was coined by Adolf Hitler as a new name for the Maschinenpistole 43, subsequently known as the Sturmgewehr-44, the firearm generally considered the first assault rifle that served to popularize the concept and form the basis for today's modern assault rifles. The translation assault rifle gradually became the common term for similar firearms sharing the same technical definition as the STG-44. In a strict definition, a firearm must have at least the following characteristics to be considered an assault rifle: it must be an individual weapon with provision to fire from the shoulder, it must be capable of selective fire, it must have an intermediate power cartridge, more power than a pistol but less than a standard rifle or battle rifle, its ammunition must be supplied from a detachable box magazine, and it should at least have an effective range of 300 meters. Rifles that meet most of these criteria, but not all, are technically not assault rifles despite frequently being called such. For example, select-fire M2 carbines are not assault rifles. Their effective range is only 200 meters. Select-fire rifles such as the FNFAL battle rifle are not assault rifles. They fire full-powered rifle cartridges. Semi-automatic only rifles like variants of the Colt AR-15 are not assault rifles. They do not have select fire capabilities. Semi-auto rifles with fixed magazines like the SKS are not assault rifles. They do not have detachable box magazines and are not capable of automatic fire. The U.S. Army defines assault rifles as short, compact, selective fire weapons that fire a cartridge intermediate in power between submachine gun and rifle cartridges. History: the Germans were the first to pioneer the assault rifle concept, during World War II, based upon research that showed that most firefights happen within 400 meters and that contemporary rifles were overpowered for most small arms combat. The Germans sought to develop a select-fire intermediate-powered rifle combining the firepower of a submachine gun with the accuracy and range of a rifle. This was done by shortening the standard 7.92x57mm cartridge to 7.92x33mm and giving it a lighter 125-grain bullet, that limited range but allowed for more controllable automatic fire. The result was the Sturmgewehr-44. Like the Germans, the Soviets were influenced by experience showing most combat happens within 400 meters and that their soldiers were consistently outgunned by heavily armed German troops, especially those armed with the Sturmgewehr-44 assault rifles. The Soviets were so impressed with the Sturmgewehr-44, that after World War II, they held a design competition to develop an assault rifle of their own. The winner was the AK-47 assault rifle. It was finalized, adopted and entered widespread service in the Soviet Army in the early 1950s. Its firepower, ease of use, low production costs, and reliability was perfectly suited for the Red Army's new mobile warfare doctrines. The AK-47 was widely supplied or sold to nations allied with the USSR and the blueprints were shared with several friendly nations. The U.S. Army was influenced by combat experience with semi-automatic weapons such as the M1 Garand and M1 carbine, which enjoyed a significant advantage over enemies armed primarily with bolt-action rifles. Although U.S. Army studies of World War II combat accounts had very similar results to that of the Germans and Soviets, the U.S. Army maintained its traditional views and preference for high-powered semi-automatic rifles. After World War II, the United States military started looking for a single automatic rifle to replace the M1 Garand, M1 Permeter-2 carbines, M1918 Browning automatic rifle, M3 grease gun, and Thompson submachine gun. However, early experiments with select-fire versions of the M1 Garand proved disappointing. During the Korean War, the select-fire M2 carbine largely replaced submachine guns in U.S. service. Although, combat experience suggested that the .30 carbine round was underpowered. American weapons designers reached the same conclusion as the Germans and Soviets: an intermediate round was necessary, and recommended a small-caliber, high-velocity cartridge. However, senior American commanders, having faced fanatical enemies and experienced major logistical problems during WWII and the Korean War, insisted that a single powerful .30 caliber cartridge be developed, that could not only be used by the new automatic rifle, but by the new general-purpose machine gun in concurrent development. This culminated in the development of the 7.62x51 NATO cartridge and the M14 battle rifle, which was basically an improved select-fire M1 Garand with a 20-round magazine. The U.S. also adopted the M60 GPMG. Its NATO partners adopted the FN-FAL and HKG-3 battle rifles, as well as the FN MAG and Rheinmetall MG3 GPMGs. The first confrontations between the AK-47 and the M14 came in the early part of the Vietnam War. Battlefield reports indicated that the M14 was uncontrollable in full auto and that soldiers could not carry enough ammo to maintain fire superiority over the AK-47. A replacement was needed, a medium between the traditional preference for high-powered rifles such as the M14, and the lightweight firepower of the M2 carbine. As a result, the Army was forced to reconsider a 1957 request by General Willard G. Wyman, commander of the U.S. Continental Army Command, to develop a .223 caliber select-fire rifle weighing 6 lbs when loaded with a 20-round magazine. The 5.56 mm round had to penetrate a standard U.S. helmet at 500 yards and retain a velocity in excess of the speed of sound, while matching or exceeding the wounding ability of the .30 carbine cartridge. This request ultimately resulted in the development of a scaled-down version of the Armalite AR-10, called AR-15 rifle. However, despite overwhelming evidence that the AR-15 could bring more firepower to bear than the M14, the Army opposed the adoption of the new rifle. In January 1963, Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara concluded that the AR-15 was the superior weapon system and ordered a halt to M14 production. At the time, the AR-15 was the only rifle available that could fulfill the requirement of a universal infantry weapon for issue to all services. After modifications, the new redesigned assault rifle was subsequently adopted as the M16 rifle. In March 1970, the U.S. recommended that all NATO forces adopt the 5.56x45mm cartridge. This shift represented a change in the philosophy of the military's long-held position about caliber size. By the middle of the 1970s, other armies were looking at assault rifle-type weapons. A NATO standardization effort soon started and tests of various rounds were carried out starting in 1977. The U.S. offered the 5.56x45mm 193 round, but there were concerns about its penetration in the face of the wider introduction of body armor. In the end, the Belgian 5.56x45mm SS-109 round was chosen in October 1980. The SS-109 round was based on the U.S. cartridge but included a new stronger, heavier, 62-grain bullet design, with better long-range performance and improved penetration. During the 1970s, the USSR developed the AK-74 assault rifle and the 5.45x39mm cartridge, which has similar physical characteristics to the US 5.56x45mm cartridge. Also during the 1970s, Finland, Israel, South Africa and Sweden introduced AK-type assault rifles in 5.56x45mm. During the 1990s, the Russians developed the AK-101 in 5.56x45mm NATO for the world export market. In addition, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Poland and Yugoslavia have also rechambered their locally produced AK variants to 5.56mm NATO. The adoption of these cartridges cemented the worldwide trend towards small-caliber, high-velocity cartridges. In 1977, Austria introduced the 5.56x45mm Steer AUG bullpup rifle, often cited as the first successful bullpup rifle, finding service with the armed forces of over 20 countries. It was highly advanced for the 1970s, combining in the same weapon the bullpup configuration, a polymer housing, dual vertical grips, an optical sight as standard, and a modular design. Highly reliable, light, and accurate, the Steer AUG showed clearly the potential of the bullpup layout. In 1978, France introduced the 5.56x45mm FAMAS bullpup rifle. In 1985, the British introduced the 5.56x45mm L85 bullpup rifle. In the late 1990s, Israel introduced the TAVR TAR-21 and China's People's Liberation Armies adopted QBZ-95. By the turn of the century, the bullpup assault rifle design had achieved worldwide acceptance. Assault Rifle Gallery. Assault rifles versus assault weapons. The term assault rifle, when used in its proper context, militarily or by its specific functionality, has a generally accepted definition with the firearm manufacturing community. In more casual usage, the term assault weapon is sometimes conflated or confused with the term assault rifle. The use of the term assault weapon is also highly controversial, as critics assert that the term is a media invention, or a term that is intended to cause confusion among the public by intentionally misleading the public to believe that assault weapons are full automatic firearms when they are not. In the United States, assault weapons are usually defined in legislation as semi-automatic firearms that have certain features generally associated with military firearms, including assault rifles. The 1994 federal assault weapons ban, which expired on September 13, 2004, codified the definition of an assault weapon. It defined the rifle type of assault weapon as a semi-automatic firearm with the ability to accept a detachable magazine and two or more of the following: a folding or telescoping stock, a pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon, a bayonet mount, a flash suppressor or threaded barrel designed to accommodate a flash suppressor, a grenade launcher. Assault weapons legislation does not further restrict weapons capable of fully automatic fire, such as assault rifles and machine guns, which have been continuously and heavily regulated since the National Firearms Act of 1934 was passed. Subsequent laws such as the Gun Control Act of 1968 and the Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986 also affected the importation and civilian ownership of fully automatic firearms, the latter fully prohibiting sales of newly manufactured machine guns to non-law enforcement or SOT dealers. See also: battle rifle, marksman rifle, sniper rifle, carbine, personal defense weapon, firearm action, list of assault rifles, list of firearms, list of multiple barrel firearms, list of service rifles of national armies, comparison of the AK-47 and M16, overview of gun laws by nation, notes. Rose, Alexander. American Rifle, A Biography. 2008, Bantam Dell Publishing. ISBN 978-0-553-80517-8. Further reading: Crawford, S. 21st Century Small Arms. MBI Publishing Company. ISBN 0-7603-1503-5. Cutshaw, C. Tactical Small Arms of the 21st Century. Gun Digest Books. ISBN 0-87349-914-X, Halls, Chris. Guns in Australia, Paul Hamlin, Sydney. ISBN 0-600-07291-6, Lewis, J. Assault Weapons, an in-depth look at the hottest weapons around. Krauss Publications. ISBN 0-87349-658-2, Popenka, M.A. Assault Rifle, The Development of the Modern Military Rifle and Its Ammunition. Wiltshire, The Crowwood Press Limited. ISBN 1-86126-700-2, Senisch, P. German Assault Rifle, 1935–1945. Paladin Press. ISBN 0-87364-400-X, Salo, Pauli Rinne Currency KKA Paragraph Kiev Currency Re 7, 62x39. 2 edition. ISBN 978-952-92-1328-3, external links, Assault Rifles and Their Ammunition, History and Prospects, Infantry Magazine on Assault Rifle Cartridges, Priestumger Assault Rifles.